Just 7 years ago, Americans emptied their homes for a chance to witness a total solar eclipse, an astronomical event hailed as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Back then, you might have heard this was the first to cut across the United States from coast to coast in a century. And it was. But lately, you might have heard there's another total solar eclipse slicing through North America on April 8, 2024. So what gives? Rest assured, skeptics. The 2024 eclipse is not crying wolf. There is another coming. The last major eclipse to cross the continent for 20 years. And the experience will be different from that of 2017, said Jenna Samra, a physicist at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. The total solar eclipse this April will last longer, could appear darker, and the corona should look even more reminiscent of a pointy crown around the moon. Also, many more people live where it will be safe to remove protective eclipse glasses for the minutes when the sun is completely blocked. When people say the eclipse is a once-in-a-lifetime event, of course that's not strictly true. Actually, there's a solar eclipse every couple of years. If you can go anywhere in the world to see it, Samra told Mashable. What makes them rare is appearing in a certain location on Earth. A total solar eclipse occurs when the moon comes between the sun and Earth in space. During that brief period when the sun is entirely hidden, the sky will darken to twilight. When the sun is concealed, people have the unusual chance to observe the sun's corona glowing around the edges of the moon. The corona, the outer layer of the sun's atmosphere, is normally washed out by the much brighter solar surface. The moon is expected to first cast its shadow on Mexico's Pacific coast at 11:07 a.m. PT, according to NASA. The corridor of the moon's shadow, the so-called path of totality, will arc from Texas to Maine, entering Canada through southern Ontario, and exiting on the Atlantic coast of Newfoundland at 5:16 p.m. NDT. The rest of the U.S. mainland will experience a partial eclipse, meaning the moon will only obscure a chunk of the sun. The sun, moon, and Earth align like this to form a total solar eclipse every 1 to 3 years. But the shadow of the moon usually traces a path over oceans and desolate corners of the world, said Kelly Korrick, a heliophysicist and NASA's program manager for the 2024 eclipse. In one particular location to get that solar eclipse, again, it's between 400 and 1,000 years on average, Korrick told Mashable. So it's once in a lifetime in a specific spot, but it's not necessarily once in a lifetime for the planet. There are, of course, outliers. Carbondale, Illinois, for example, a city that was in the moon's shadow during the eclipse on August 21, 2017, will also, coincidentally, be in the path of totality in April. The 2024 eclipse will last longer. The moon's shadow on Earth's surface was 71 miles wide during the 2017 eclipse, making the longest duration of total sun coverage 2 minutes and 41 seconds. But the 2024 eclipse will span 122 miles, Korrick said, providing an eclipse lasting up to 4 minutes and 27 seconds. The shadow size changes based on the configuration of the moon's orbit, around Earth and Earth's orbit around the sun, both slightly oval. The sun's size appears to change ever so slightly, enough to matter for an eclipse, said Michael Zeiler, an eclipse cartographer. It all depends on the geometry, he told Mashable. If the sun's apparent size to us is relatively small, or about the smallest it gets, and the moon is about the largest that it gets, then you will have the longest possible total solar eclipse, which has a theoretical maximum of about 7 minutes and 30 seconds. The 2024 eclipse could appear darker, setting aside weather conditions. The wider path of totality is also the reason some solar eclipse observers could be treated to a darker sky, Zeiler said, allowing people to see more stars against the backdrop. If a person stood in the center of the narrower path in 2017, then went to the center of the broader 2024 path this April, the sky could appear darker the second time around. The duration of the eclipse and the level of darkness are related. If you're in the center, then you're a farther distance away from sunlight. That's what it boils down to. How far you are from the edge of the shadow, he said. The corona will look spikier in 2024. The corona, that hazy white glow that will appear when the moon blocks the sun, means crown in Latin. And because of where the sun is in its 11-year solar cycle, eclipse watchers are more likely to see a corona surrounded by pointy peaks, much like the name evokes. The shape of the corona that you see on eclipse day, it will become seared into your memory, said Zeiler, who has witnessed 11 total solar eclipses around the world. When you look at a photograph, you'll instantly say, "Oh yeah, that's the 2024 eclipse." The solar cycle, caused by changes in the sun's magnetic fields, affects activity on the sun's surface. At the beginning and end of the cycle, that activity is at its calmest. But solar activity ramps up, peaking in the middle of the cycle, causing the sun to roil with giant eruptions. The cycle will have nearly reached its maximum point during the 2024 eclipse. By contrast, the sun was closer to solar minimum in 2017, revealing a more ordered corona. The corona will just look much more, I guess the word I can say is spiky, Samra said. It has to do with the way the magnetic field is. The spikes that we see are actually essentially plasma, hot ionized gas, and the corona is following the magnetic field lines. Astronomers and eclipse chasers are excited about the chance to see some wild fireworks in the corona. Those include solar prominences, wispy pink tendrils that extend into the corona. Some prominences resemble bright lakes of fire around the moon's rim, but the highlight could be witnessing a coronal mass ejection. Plasma spewed from the corona, which might look like a bubble or blob. Small CMEs have been reported during totality in recent times, but no major eruptions. Some historians believe the eclipse that crossed Spain in 1860 had a giant one, Zeiler said. Paintings and sketches from that event show a large, hook-like feature launching out of the corona. It will occur at solar maximum. Anyone who has seen the solar corona with their naked eyes during totality will know that it is always an utterly spectacular sight. During solar minimum, when our star's magnetic activity is at its lowest, in its roughly 11-year cycle, it has an asymmetrical, thorny look, as it did during the last total solar eclipse in North America on August 21, 2017. That will not be the case on April 8th, when the sun's corona will seem larger, more symmetrical, and sunflower-like. It's a consequence of magnetic activity in the sun, and sometime this year, the sun is predicted to reach solar maximum. The last time a total solar eclipse visible from North America coincided with solar maximum was on February 26, 1979, when totality lasted as long as 2 minutes 49 seconds within a path through Washington, Montana and North Dakota in the US, and Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec, Canada, and Greenland. A comet may be visible during totality. It is something of a long shot, but a comet may be visible during totality on April 8th. Comet 12P Pons-Brooks, also known as the Devil Comet, will be about 25 degrees from the Sun, relatively close to Jupiter. While Jupiter should be visible during totality to the naked eye totality, the comet could reach magnitude plus 4.7, putting it on the cusp of naked eye visibility. So it's probable that the comet won't be easily seen, unless it has an outburst, something it has done before. If you plan to observe totality through binoculars, it may be worth a quick scan to look for it, though it's more likely to show up on long exposure images. Bright eclipse comets are very rare, with images more likely to reveal them if they're around. That last happened during the total solar eclipse in Chile and Argentina on December 14, 2020, when Comet C 2020 X3 SOHO was detected during totality. This total solar eclipse will be one of the most urban. About a quarter of everyone who experiences totality on April 8th will do so from a city. Huge cities in the path of totality include Mazatlan and Torreon in Mexico, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, Austin, and parts of San Antonio in Texas, Little Rock, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Buffalo, Rochester, and Hamilton, Niagara, St. Catharines, Kingston, and Montreal in Canada. That's about 10 million people. There are many other reasons why the total solar eclipse on April 8th will be unique. The last total solar eclipse in North America until one in Alaska on March 30, 2033. It will be the longest totality, peaking at 4 minutes 28 seconds in Nazas, Mexico. Observed on land since a 4 minutes 40 seconds totality on Rapa Nui, Easter Island on July 11, 2010. It also crosses the path of the 2017 total solar eclipse, with southern Illinois and Missouri experiencing totality for the second time in less than 7 years. Balloons, rockets, citizens, and scientists will be tracking the eclipse. There's a reason solar eclipses are a big deal in the scientific community. They provide you with the opportunity to do experiments that you cannot do otherwise. Noor-e Rawafi, an astrophysicist with Johns Hopkins University, said during the roundtable, "An eclipse in 1919 proved Albert Einstein's theory of relativity," he said. "This will probably be the most observed total solar eclipse in history. That's because NASA and other institutions will be using radar, balloons, spacecraft, and jets to perform experiments and gather data during the eclipse. NASA is interested in tracking changes to density, wind speed, and temperatures at the ionosphere, part of the Earth's upper atmosphere, during the event. Unlike the 2017 eclipse, there are now 2 sun-scrutinizing spacecraft circling our star. It's an opportunity NASA has never had before, to monitor the sun up close, from 2 different space observatories, while instruments here on Earth study the eclipse. That should give scientists more comprehensive eclipse data than they've ever had.